Thank you so much. I have to say that the last time I went to the Super Bowl, John, was to watch the Buffalo Bills lose to the Dallas Cowboys 55-19. And it was in Pasadena, California, and it did give rise to one of Tim's most favorite anecdotes, which was he did say on the air just before he went to the Super Bowl, "Please, dear God, may the Buffalo Bills win." And Tom Brokaw said, "You can't pray on the air. You can't do that." And so after the Bills lost, Brokaw said to him, "Well, guess, Tim, God's a Southern Baptist." Anyway, I am going to the Super Bowl because I am from San Francisco and I am rooting for the Niners. You didn't say that, so go Niners, okay? Anyway, now I'll put on my glasses. I want to tell you, thank you so much for having me here. It's always, I feel always so warmly welcomed in Buffalo, and I so much appreciate it. And it's especially an honor to have been introduced by Sister Lucille, because she was the first nun from Buffalo I ever met. And I really marvel that whenever Sister Lucille has gone with our family, whether she was on the set of Meet the Press to trade quips with Bill Clinton, or preside over Luke's graduation in Boston with a hierarchy of Jesuits and the president of Boston College, she charms them all while deftly letting them know her views and exactly where she stands. And if she doesn't like something, she emails Tom Brokaw. That can-do spirit, ready to take on the world, is exactly what Tim learned as a 7th grader at St. Bonaventure School 51 years ago, when Sister Lucille urged him to take his excess energy and put it into a school newspaper, the Bonnet. The Bonnet was Tim's first experience with journalism. He was in a double class of 52 7th and 8th graders crammed into one room with just one sister in charge. After President Kennedy was assassinated, the Bonnet staff sent a copy of their paper commemorating JFK to President Lyndon Johnson, to Mrs. Jacqueline Kennedy, and Attorney Robert Kennedy. And when they all responded, Tim said that was the moment when his first interest in media and politics blossomed. He had gotten a reaction. There is probably not a single one of us who grew up in a Catholic family or went to a Catholic school during that time who does not have a story of a woman religious who did not put an indelible mark on us. In my own childhood in the San Francisco Bay Area, there was only one Catholic elementary school in my hometown of Alameda, so I went to public school and got released on Monday afternoon for an hour of religious instruction in the church basement. I also went every Saturday morning of my childhood, aged 4 to 13, to catechism classes supervised by the formidable Holy Family nun, Sister Austin, who kept order with a wooden clicker and grinding ear twists. We began each session with a series of prayers that I still recite in exactly the same order that I learned at age 4 from Sister Austin. She always ended our prayers with that examination of conscience and that haunting question, have I done anything I don't want my parents or the sisters to know? That memory ranks right up there with our immigrant Irish pastor, Father O'Connor's answer to a boy's question about mortal sin, "Father, how long should we hold a kiss?" And Father answered, "Just as long as it takes to say the word kiss." Sister Austin's examination of conscience has stayed with me, or shall I say haunted me, all my life, all over the world, from Hollywood to Tajikistan, for that is one of the overwhelmingly important roles that our female religious play. Along with our parents, they are how we learn the love of God, right from wrong, discipline, and order. The contribution of the Catholic sisters in the history of America, of Western New York, are, well, just awesome. Whether it was the Mercy Nuns in South Buffalo, the Josephites in North Buffalo, the Felicians on the West Side, So much of the day-to-day spiritual, charitable, and educational infrastructure of this community was built and maintained by the good sisters. And consider the level of sacrifice they made and continue to make. When Sister Lucille was president of Our Lady of Sacred Heart School in Orchard Park with 750 students, she was still so young she had not yet taken her final vows. Yet, in addition to being principal, she was also full-time getting her master's degree. Now, I'm singling out Sister Lucille because I happen to know her personal story, but there are so many of you in the audience tonight and here who mirror her commitment with your own life examples. So, Sister Lucille, please do not get a swelled head. Sister once told me that it was a rule in her order, at least, that the sisters were not allowed to sit at their desks. While they taught, they were expected to stay on their feet all day. And when all else failed, unruly children could be threatened, as Tim was by his dad, to be packed off to Father Baker's, to be taken care of by the good nuns of St. Joseph. Tonight we honor not only the sisters from the Buffalo Diocese, 22 of whom still teach full-time, three who teach part-time, but all women religious, whose brilliance and dedication contributed so much to our education and history as a nation. Yet they seem to receive so little credit for it, and I think that ought to change. We are also honoring their fellow unsung heroes, their wonderful successors, the dedicated lay teachers from the 53 elementary schools of the diocese who are following in the sisters' noble footsteps, or should I say their very, very large footprints. Honestly, when I started researching this talk tonight and started learning all about what the women religious in this country are responsible for, I was absolutely astounded. The first nuns to land on our shores in 1727 were the French Ursulines who came to New Orleans and who actually wrote to President Thomas Jefferson wanting to know whether they had rights and could keep their property. Addressing them as Holy Sister, Jefferson then wrote them back in his own hand, assuring them that the U.S. Constitution guaranteed, quote, "Your institution will be able to govern itself without interference from civil authority." I think we can probably claim that these Ursulines as our first feminists. During the Civil War, 600 nuns nursed the wounded, tended to the dying, and became the first female nurses on a U.S. Navy hospital ship. Just 5 years after gold was first discovered in California, a group of Presentation Sisters left Ireland in 1854 and sailed around the Horn to come to San Francisco to minister to abandoned wives and single mothers. They built the first Catholic hospital on the West Coast, in addition to establishing a girls' high school. My aunt was a Presentation nun in San Francisco for over 70 years, teaching high school algebra and Latin. By the way, her name was Sister Canisius, and I never knew until I got to Buffalo I should have been calling her Sister Canisius. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, sisters were often the rugged pioneers who founded schools and hospitals at the edge of the American frontier. I recently learned that enterprising Benedictine nuns financed their new hospital by selling the very first health insurance to loggers in Duluth, Minnesota. If you think about it, the sisters were really the first networks of women to work outside the home and to be professionals in their own right. And they often did so in a climate of discrimination against Catholics and overt sexism from priests and bishops, as well as society at large, which, sadly today, is still not completely absent. Yet, look at what these determined holy women were able to accomplish. Catholic sisters established the nation's largest private school system, including more than 110 colleges and universities. In 2005, 1 in 6 hospital patients was treated in a Catholic facility founded by Catholic sisters. Sisters were also instrumental in the founding of the Mayo Clinic, as well as Alcoholics Anonymous. Last year, I spoke to the girls at Narden on the theme of social justice. If you go down the list of every tenet of social justice defined by the Church, whether it is the principle of the common good, the principle of solidarity, interdependence, or economic justice, the 60,000 plus sisters of this country are still on the front lines of all these issues and battles, walking the walk and talking the talk. Courageous women who often elect to live and work in poor and dangerous neighborhoods. They are exemplars of a holistic faith that spans the entire life of the human being, not just life in the womb. Who can forget the remarkable nuns on the bus tour of this recent election campaign and their theme of reasonable revenue for responsible programs? Many people commented to me they wish they could vote for Sister Simone Campbell, who led the nuns on the bus, and who consistently spoke with eloquence about those most in need among us. And actually, during the inauguration, just not long ago, I happened to get to meet Sister Simone, which was a thrill, and she will be probably around here not very long from now, because her latest venture is going to be Nuns on the Border, and they're back on the bus to fight for immigration reform. I certainly do not have to remind this audience about the challenges that exist right here in Erie County, where every day over 50,000 children experience hunger or are at risk for hunger. You have a much better record, though, than Washington, D.C., where 37% of all the children are at risk for hunger. This is not an auspicious time for our children. More and more resources in the future are going to be taken over to pay the health costs of the aging boomers, leaving less left over for the kids. Plus, half of all babies born in the U.S. today are born out of wedlock, and these are the children most at risk for not being prepared for a skilled job or able to escape poverty in their own generation. So what are the ways all of us here tonight can make a difference in saving our most precious resource, our children? Well, we can pray, of course. We can be good models ourselves. We can foster a sense of caring community, as the nuns have taught us, and today is exemplified by those who work and are carrying on, by those who are carrying on their tireless work. The committed women and men who teach in our diocesan schools and whom we are also honoring tonight, and for whom this dinner is named. Tonight is our opportunity to thank them for all the sacrifice and effort they make on behalf of our kids. When you hear about all that our prize winner, Mary Jane Leshevsky, is doing, for example, you really realize how much goodness there still is in this world. Most of all, however, we can support the many children who want to get a values-based education in our Catholic schools. It's no secret that Catholic schools today are in a crisis mode. More and more close each year, and it's not necessarily for children, lacking for children who want to attend. We really have to ask ourselves if we are doing all we can to help these kids or the parishes that are trying to sustain them. Do some of us have something other than money, like management skills or internships to offer to help ensure these schools can continue to function? Think of those other little Timmy Russerts lurking in South Buffalo who need to be taught how to channel their energy. Think of how privileged we are that we are able to be here tonight, and we must thank the Joy Family Foundation for helping so much to get these scholarships to so many more children each year, and for their commitment. Thank you, Joy Family. Of the 12,000 children enrolled in the diocesan schools here today, 1,700 received scholarship assistance from funds raised from the dinner last year. That is fantastic, but we have to beat that. There are hundreds of kids on the waiting list, so let's make sure we reach way down ourselves, plus contact someone we haven't really put the touch on before, and see if we can't get that waiting list winnowed down. I'd like to leave you tonight with one of Tim's favorite sayings, the one written on his Mass card. No exercise is better for the human heart than reaching down to lift up another person. And I'd also like to ask you to consider looking up one of your old nuns who did so much for you and thank her and give her a hug. We should never forget the sister's sacrifice for us. Thank you.